Kind of crazy. This is the first LimitsCenter of the year for 2026. Am I right, people? Because to show you the second upload day on YouTube, by the way. Anyways, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lucas E. Allen Productions on YouTube and all audio platforms. Lucas E. Allen Show, which is a LimitsCenter podcast for your Sunday, January 11th of 2026. Yes, I know people probably not watch basically the podcast until at least probably Monday morning. Probably because you got obviously the first game, you had the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC the wild card round. Bills won that, by the way, 27-20. What was it, 27-24? I don't know, fucking remember what score. I think it was 27-24. Basically, going to halftime, the 49ers and Eagles. Obviously, tonight you also got Chargers and Patriots, to say the least. Now, football talk, shall we, please? What is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? Let me know in the comment section how your day is going, to say the least, on YouTube and Spotify, to say the least. I like some comments on Spotify, and then yet to receive one comment on Spotify. If you're watching on Spotify, please leave a comment, man. It would be interesting, to say the least. For anything, follow me on social media: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, Lucas E. Allen. On today's podcast on YouTube, hit the like button on today's podcast. Subscribe button if you've done so already. Turn the bell for your post notifications and upload on YouTube. And always leave a comment, like my episode for your Sunday, or your LimitsCenter podcast for your Sunday, January 11th of 2026. Also on Spotify, do the same thing. Leave a comment you think of my podcast, the for this Sunday, January 20th. January 11th of 2026. And also a 5-star rating, be very nice as well, to say the least. Now let's get right into your introduction today, shall we? So it's Backstage news on Drew McIntyre's undisputed WWE Championship victory on Smackdown. We discussing that. Crazy shot. I'm not going to say shocking. I really want it. Everyone in the picking shit wanted to see Drew McIntyre win that championship. And thank God he did, obviously. You know, it's probably transitional. We get the point there. We're going to be discussing that. Also, an update on LA Knight's WWE absence. We discussing that. Also, the two lovely ladies in NXT, Blake Monroe and Jacy Jayne, not expected to be called up to the main roster, WWE main roster yet. We discussing that. Also, Jaida Parker, speaking of women's wrestlers in NXT, we expect to make her WWE return soon. And also, CJ Perry announces her return to wrestling. I don't know, no longer this day in wrestling history, to say the least. Nothing really I want to do that anymore, to say the least. Anyways, thank you for watching Lucas E. Allen 1018 on YouTube and Spotify. This is Lucas E. Allen Show. So on today's podcast for your Sundays, January 11th of 2026. So on today's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Starting with, you guessed it, Backstage news on Drew McIntyre's undisputed WWE Championship victory on SmackDown over Cody Rhodes. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm yet to cover SmackDown. I basically covered SmackDown for the 2nd of January 2026. I'm yet to cover the 9th episode of SmackDown, to say, at least on YouTube. It's not going to affect anyone on Spotify, but still, you get the point. You don't get reviews, you don't get the LimitsCenter podcasts, obviously. Anyways, Drew McIntyre won the undisputed WWE Championship on Friday night on SmackDown in Berlin, Germany. McIntyre defeated Cody Rhodes in the 3 stages of Hell match to secure his third ring with the championship. We count the WWE Championship as Black Championship compared to the gold title, to say the least. The match ended when Jacob Fatu made his return to the company and attacked both competitors inside the steel cage. While Fatu and Rhodes brawled, McIntyre took advantage of the chaos to escape the cage with the championship. According to a report from Bodyslam.net, there was a strong internal push within WWE to give McIntyre the championship and dethrone Rhodes. The report comes with the fact that both Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre pitched a change, to management recently, mirroring a proposal they made around the time of WrestlePalooza. You can figure out why. You don't want Drew McIntyre to beat Cody Rhodes long before, obviously, SmackDown was passing, but beggars can't be choosers, obviously. WWE officials eventually decided the time was right to pull the trigger on the change during the international tour. Which I don't like that, honestly. Why don't you just give it to tell Cody Rhodes or Drew McIntyre at the earliest WrestlePalooza? If not, that's Saturday night's main event for November 1st of 2025. Either one of those places can find me. I'd rather WrestlePalooza, especially with the fucking match we got with that. But still, man. At least Drew McIntyre eventually won the Undisputed WWE Championship, so all that beggars can't be choosers, obviously. It's a great win, and I actually loved the fucking decision. Right outcome, obviously. If you're going to continue this Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes feud, granted, it's not been great, obviously. You give that championship to Drew McIntyre, and plus the work that McIntyre's been put in the last 2 years, all 2024 basically, and 2025, the man is freaking great. That man deserves at least a world championship, as a world heavyweight championship, or undisputed WWE championship. You even got the bigger title than the world heavyweight title being undisputed WWE championship. Good for Drew McIntyre, and probably Drew McIntyre, man. Definitely great for him. Is he probably be a transitional champion, get that title back to Cody Rhodes? Probably before WrestleMania, obviously. So we find out for that, though, to say. Congratulations to Drew McIntyre becoming the new undisputed WWE champion. For my fans on YouTube, we'll be discussing the Smackdown a couple of days from now on Spotify. You guys gotta watch it on YouTube, man. I don't know what to fucking tell you, to say the least. Moving on to update on LA Knight's WWE absence. It's been over a month since WWE fans sought the former United States champion, LA Knight, but according to a new report that may imminently change, Fightful Select reports that Knight has slated to be back on the road this week, specifically boarding to a flight to Germany. You'll probably see him on Raw tomorrow this afternoon, to say the least. It starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love those Raws, man. During the daytime Raws, to say the least. Back in at the start of the year last year, I discussed Raw, I think it was March 31st of 2025. Remember then, I did the review basically the night of the 31st, not compared to the next day of April 1st. I love that, man. I love during the day Raws. Grant, people at work probably be freaking pissed, obviously. I don't blame them, though. I don't blame them, honestly. But for me, a guy who has no job besides this YouTube business, this is great for me, honestly. For regular stand workers, probably pissed off. I understand that. Anyway, so LA Knight probably back to Raw, probably. Hope to God, knock on wood. Knock on the floor here, to say the least. In my brand new apartment, by the way. Hope to see him back on Raw tomorrow, to say the least. It'll be interesting, to say the least, if he's back on Raw, to say the least, as well. Moving on to two lovely ladies I freaking love dearly in NXT. Blake Monroe and Jacy Jayne, not expected to be called up to the WWE main roster as of yet. They probably will be soon, but definitely not in the imminent future here, according to this report. WWE has adjusted creative plans for Blake Monroe following a series of unexpected events on the NXT brand. Obviously, she lost the NXT Women's North American Championship to Thea Hale in a botched finish, obviously. Monroe roster NXT Women's North American Championship to Thea Hale, like I said, on December 16th. After an unplanned, legitimate botched finish, like I just said. While Monroe was originally booked to retain the championship, she failed to get her shoulder up during a pinfall, resulting in Hale becoming the new champion by accident. She lost the North American title, obviously, is Izzy Dame at New Year's Eve, and I freaking hated that, honestly. And I don't like that whatsoever. Not just because I'm a Blake Monroe fan. I love Blake. She is freaking great. But seriously. Why? I don't see the hype in Izzy Dame. I gotta be honest. I will review it on YouTube, the New Year's Evil show. Watch it on YouTube. I watch me review NXT New Year's Evil sooner around later. Probably a couple podcasts from now on YouTube. So stay tuned for that, my YouTube listeners. A rematch for the goal was set for NXT New Year's Evil on January 6th in Orlando, Florida. However, the bout never officially started as Monroe jumped Hale from behind with a steel chair and during her entrance. Monroe also put the champion through the ringside barricade. Her general manager, Ava Raine, intervened. Ava specifically banned Monroe from the building for the night. And Hale will go on to lose the championship in an open challenge to Izzy Dame, like I just mentioned. Reports on Fightful Select indicate that discussions of potential call-off for Blake Monroe and Jacy Jayne to main roster were held. However, sources confirmed at Bodyslam.net that the move to the main roster is not expected for Blake at this time. Instead, new plans in place for Monroe as NXT has to stand deliver in Las Vegas, Nevada on April 11th, obviously WrestleMania weekend. In a weekly Fightful debunction, or debunking, I guess I say it, it was noted that Jayne and Monroe aren't expected to be called to the main roster imminently. NXT Stand Delivered is expected to be a major stop for the brand during WrestleMania 42 weekend, obviously. The event will take place at Allegiant Stadium or surround a venue in Las Vegas. Now, I actually like that, honestly. For NXT's sake, they're probably just doing this to hold off Blake Monroe and Jacy Jayne for a main roster, probably eventually. I think Jacy should be called up first. Because she is obviously more than right. She is as fucking phenomenal as Jacy Jayne. But Blake Monroe and both returning, obviously, Jacy Jayne, I feel like it'd be decent if we find NXT at least imminently for right now, especially Blake. I think she needs to have the NXT Women's Championship eventually, even though she was obviously North American champion. But I think the reason why they put the title on Izzy Dame is because they want bigger plans for Blake with the NXT Women's Championship. Like, I'm going to predict this right now. I think Sol Ruga does want to dethrone Jacy Jayne as the NXT Women's Champion. But after maybe Stand Deliver something like that, I think Blake Monroe will beat Sol Ruga for the NXT Women's Championship. So she probably can't do heel versus heel with Blake and Jacy anyways. That's my thoughts on this for sure. I think basically Sol Ruga will beat Jacy Jayne on Vengeance Day, something like that to say at least. And then Jacy probably after be called to the main roster, hopefully, to say at least. And Blake will stick to NXT as the NXT Women's Champion going forward, hopefully. But that's should be needed for NXT. That's my thoughts on that for sure. And plus, probably the NXT could definitely use women down there, obviously Blake. Obviously Jacy's more than ready to be called to the main roster anyways. But definitely Blake, because that women's division is getting weaker and weaker the more call-ups and call-ups happens on the main roster. So I ain't fine with that though to say. There's also my thoughts in this segment for sure. Moving on to Jaida Parker, expecting to make her WWE return, NXT return to say the least. Return is soon to say the least. WWE's developmental brand is currently in a state of flux as several top stars have recently transitioned to Raw and SmackDown. Main roster call-ups are Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Jordan Grace have left significant gaps in the NXT lineup. Gee, you don't say. Creating a new need for established talent to step up. Sources indicate the body slam that Jaida Parker is expected to make her NXT TV return shortly to help fill those vacancies. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Jaida Parker, honestly. I know she's at least decent in the ring. But if she make a difference the NXT Women's Division, I would say no. Honestly, I'm just going to say no. This division is, to me, is just freaking just falling off the face here. So other than last year, it's Stephanie Becker, Julia, and now Jordan Grace this year getting called up to the main roster. And soon up Jacy Jayne, stuff like that. Even sitting around later, Blake Monroe just mentioned at the top of the show today. So it should be interesting to see Jaida Parker if she can step up to be one of those top girls in NXT following the call-ups on Jacy Jayne and stuff, women like that to say at least. So we'll see her back sooner rather than later. She's a good wrestler. She's not my cup of tea in the ring, honestly. That's just for me to say, at least you want me to say. Moving on to CJ Perry, the final part of today's LimitsCenter. CJ Perry announces her return to wrestling, the former Lana, Rusev's wife. CJ Perry recently appeared on the TMZ Inside the Ring podcast, where she shared major news regarding her future in professional wrestling and reflected on her recent experiences in the industry. During her appearance, CJ Perry officially revealed she was returning to the wrestling world with the specific focus on independent circuit. I'm saving this for exclusive for the podcast. I'm making an announcement that I'll be returning to professional wrestling. I'm going to be hitting the indie scene, Perry shared. She clarified that while her primary goal is managing a mic work, she is prepared to be for physical confrontation if necessary. So I don't think she's needed in professional wrestling, at least a wrestling standpoint. She's a great mouthpiece and a great manager, like Rusev and stuff, her husband. Obviously, won't be getting that in WWE. Obviously, she's probably worked independently, but whatever, let's finish this rest of this report. My goal is not to start wrestling, but if someone has an issue with me, I need to resolve some conflict in the ring. You better believe I'm gonna hit the ring. To be ready, hit the ready, she added. Perry also discussed her inspiration for a new chapter, citing that Paul Heyman as her primary influence. I want to be so sharp. I want to be iconic. Paul Heyman is my favorite manager of all time. I'm always studying him and watching him, Perry noted. She revealed that she is enrolling in stand-up comedy classes to sharpen up her verbal skills. And will begin traveling the country to find the next super athlete to manage. A pun intended, super athlete for Rusev. Now, if I do kind of wish she was back in WWE as managing Rusev, because Rusev's doing nothing by himself. Like, yeah, this man's like doing nothing since returning to WWE at the Raw to WrestleMania. What has he done? He went feuded for Intercontinental Championship and Dominic Mysterio a couple times, but he failed every single time. With a triple threat at Saturday Night's main event for November 1st of 2025, or even like Dominic Mysterio won multiple times. But it is what it is, man. I feel like we need to get to see Rusev with like his wife and Lana, even though we're probably not going to see it with CJ Perry in independent scenes, to say at least. So good for her doing her stuff in the indie circuit, even though she's not technically wrestling, or should she, unless she wants to get better and better, and so maybe do it. In indie scenes would be kind of useful for her, to say at least. But she'd rather be a mouthpiece, and actually is the best place for her, in my opinion, to say at least. Those are my thoughts in this segment for sure, and that is your LimitsCenter. The January 11th, 2026 Limits. I don't know what fucking day it was, honestly. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Lucas E. Allen Productions on YouTube and all audio platforms. Lucas E. Allen Show. With your LimitsCenter podcast, your Sunday, January 11th of 2026. Your double upload day on YouTube is also concluded, to say the least. Until next time, it's supposed to be next time around. But this podcast probably got like 8:30 and dead tonight, to say the least, on YouTube and Spotify probably next day. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, you're watching it right now, or you're watching it, leave a comment, like I said at the top of the show. As like, peace, love, alright, I am out. Take care. Love y'all big time, to say the least.